Kenan, Part 2.5. It is all Kenan can do to look up at what remains of the National Library. Though the stone and brick structure still stands, its insides are completely consumed. The fire has left sooty licks above each window, and the domed glass ceiling that stood proud atop the building for a century has shattered to the floor. Again, glass being shattered is an image that we've seen repeated multiple times now. The tram once turned a semicircle here, offering a comprehensive view of the iconic building. It was one of his favorite places in the city, though he wasn't a great reader. It was the most visible manifestation of a society that he was proud of. Now the tram tracks serve no purpose and show only what has been lost. The men on the hills made the library one of their first targets. They took to their task with great efficiency. Kenan didn't know if it was the shells that started the fire, or if someone smuggled a bomb in as they did in the post office. But he knew that as it burns, they fired incendiary shells at it. When he went there when he heard it was burning, without knowing why. He watched, helpless and useless, as the symbol of what the city was, and many still wanted it to be, gave in to the desires of the men on the hills. So it's important that it's a library, right? A place of learning and knowledge and tolerance that is being the first thing to become destroyed. The fire trucks arrived and they became targets, shot at by unseen snipers. Shells were launched at them by an army that had once sworn to protect the city. The firefighters battled the flames for as long as they could, until they were ordered back by some commander who saw the futility of the situation. Kenan saw one fireman, probably in his late 20s, stand by himself and watch the inferno rage. He didn't move at all, exhausted. He caved in on himself, fell to his knees. His fellow firemen rushed to him, thinking a sniper had hit him. As they helped him to his feet and led him away, Kenan saw that his cheeks were streaked with sweat or tears, and his lips were moving, silent, in a way that made Kenan think he was praying. For days afterwards, the ash of 1,000,000 books floated down onto the city like snow. So that's really important, right? The ash of all of these books. People are burning the knowledge that the city had, right? It's kind of symbolic of that destruction. At the time, Kenan believed that the fireman was overcome by the loss of the library. But now what he thinks that brought him to his knees was his inability to do anything to save it, or even slow its loss. When Kenan's children ask, why is this war happening? Why people are being starved and shot at? He can't answer them. When he sees them suffering and there's nothing he can do about it, he sees the fireman in himself and wishes someone would pick him up and carry him away. He cannot collapse, though, because his children look to him to reassure them that everything will be fine, that the war will end, that they will all survive. There are times when he doesn't know how he manages not to evaporate, how his clothes don't fall to the floor, emptied of what little substance he was filling them with. Right, so he's on this trip to get water, and here we have him talking about how he's afraid that he will evaporate, right? Connection of language. He rounds the corner of the Sahar Bridge lies ahead. He stops and adjusts his water bottles before taking shelter behind one of the library's great supporting arches. He scans the hills, not quite sure what he's looking for, but wanting some reassurance that there's no one with a gun trained on the bridge. After a few minutes, a man and woman come around the corner. They look at him, suspicious, but don't stop. They head towards the bridge, and Kenan considers calling out a warning to them, but there's nothing that he can say that will be of any use. Telling them there might be a sniper watching the bridge is a little like saying the sun has come up this morning. So he lets him go. They can be his guinea pigs. They're almost casual in the approach. They don't look up at the southern hills. They don't stop. When they reach the bridge, they pick up their pace a bit, more than a fast walk, but not quite a jog. The woman moves a little faster than the man, and he speeds up to stay beside her. As they near the middle of the bridge, Kenan feels an overwhelming sense of doom, is sure that shots are about to come, that they're both going to be killed. But the shots never come, and the couple make it to the other side. They slow down a little, perhaps feeling they're out of danger, though Kenan knows they can still be hit. They're not safe until they're behind the cover of the buildings. But the couple don't know this or don't care. The woman comes up behind him. She's in her early 50s, he thinks, and her hair's mostly gray, although there's not a good way to tell anymore. He never knew how many women put color in their hair until the war came, and the hair dye became another commodity for black marketeers. Kenan looks at the woman again and thinks maybe she's younger than he first thought. She might even be his age. There's no way to tell what the war has done to age her. She has a 4-liter water jug in each hand. She acknowledges Kenan and looks at the bridge. Is it safe? Kenan shrugs. A couple just went over and no one was shot, but who knows? The woman sees his water canisters. Are you going to the brewery? Yes. For an instant, Kenan wonders if she's going to ask him to get water for her, but knows even before he's done thinking it that he's being irrational. You? If I can. The hill is steep, so I stop and rest a lot, but I'll make it. It's the bridge I don't like. She looks again at the bridge, then the hills. I think it's safe. He considers asking her for what she looks for in the hills. Maybe she knows something specific that he doesn't. The woman doesn't respond, and Kenan gets the feeling that he's intruding on her privacy, even though he was there first and they are in no way in a private place. He wants to be away from here, though, so he picks up his jugs and takes one long last at the bridge. Are you going now? She asks, standing straighter. Yes, he hesitates, unsure of what she wants for him, or if she wants anything. Do you want to go together? You know, safety in numbers? She appears to be considering his proposal. She wonders which one of them is a more appealing target, then stops himself. This is no way to think. No, she says, I think I'll rest here a while. He nods to her and steps out into the street. He's glad to be moving along. He isn't sure what just happened, but that there was something about the nature of this interaction that unnerved him. He moves as quickly as he can, a slow jog at first and then faster. His feet hit the bridge and he knows that he's now exposed. He zigzags a little, right, then left, then right, then runs in a straight line, attempting to create no pattern in his movements. The trick is to keep your movements random and not phonetic. He once saw a man move too quickly to the side in an attempt to be evasive, and his foot slipped from under him and his ankle snapped. He lay in the street for several minutes until someone came and helped him to safety. Although no shot ever came, it was just easily could have, and the man would have done most of the sniper's work for him. Kenan's water bottles thump against each other, and though it's not a loud noise, it sounds to him like the beating of drums, and this frightens him, making him think that someone is hunting him. He runs faster, much faster than he thinks is safe, but terror has wrapped its arms around him, and he can't help himself. The end of the bridge is ahead, and his foot catches in a cleft in the pavement. It seems like he's going to fall, but he doesn't somehow, and he recovers himself enough to stumble across the rest of the bridge to the protection of a small building to his left. He sits there wheezing, his lungs hot and dry, until his breathing slows, and he pulls himself to his feet. He glances back to the library and sees the woman looking at him. It's too far for him to be sure, but he imagines she's laughing at him. She is, he realizes, using him as a guinea pig, just as he did the couple before. Did he reassure her, he wonders, or make her more reluctant to cross? She doesn't move from shelter, so he assumes he didn't instill any confidence in her. In front of him is a cafe he used to go to, the Spite House. The story of it used to be that on the other side of the river, on the right bank, when Austro-Hungarians regulated the flow of the Miljacka, which was in the way, but the owner refused to allow it to be demolished. He agreed to give up his piece of land only on condition that his house be moved, brick by brick, across the river to the left bank. In addition, he also demanded a bag of ducats out of spite. Kenan's never been sure whether the story is true or not, but he doesn't think it matters. What he wants to ask for the men on the hills to come down and put every building back the way it was, brick by brick. If they can cough up some money to do, who is he to say what is spite and what is reparation? Reparation is when you have to pay back money in order to rebuild things after a war. He looks at the now closed restaurant and laughs a little at the thought. The men on the hills will come down into the city for only one reason, and it won't be to make things the way they used to be. He picks up his bottles and puts the rope over his shoulder. Then he stoops to pick up Mr. Stofsky's bottles as well. He can't understand why she insists on these particular containers, why she can't switch to ones with handles. He knows she's old and set in her ways, but it's not as though she's been using these containers to carry water all her life. She's been dealing with the water shortage for exactly the same amount of time that he has, but without having to make the trek down a hill, through a town, cross a bridge, up another hill, and home again. If anyone should be set in his ways, it's him. He remembers meeting her almost 17 years ago. He and Emila were in their early 20s, just married, and their first daughter only months old. They moved into their apartment on a dreary spring morning, and in the afternoon they heard an insistent knock at the door that they would come to know well.